All right, here we are. Welcome everyone to Her First Million, a YouTube channel tailored exclusively for women business owners in traditionally male dominated fields like manufacturing, the trades, technology, attorneys, CPAs. You get it. I'm Amanda, your business chaos sorter and host. With Her First Million, we're dedicated to providing 3 segments that transform your business trajectory. The first one is Love Your Numbers. That's where I unravel the complexities of financial management and demystify the numbers so that you can confidently optimize your business for greater profitability. Then in the second segment, it's called Ask Amanda. That's where you can ask any question that you have about your business. And you can slide that into DMs for privacy, or you can put it in the comments below. I love hearing from people and just sharing insightful answers that can help you steer your business in the right direction. And the segments that I love the most, I get to sit down with trailblazing entrepreneurs who have excelled in industries traditionally dominated by men and others that support them in very interesting ways. In these interviews, we unearth the strategies and navigate common and uncommon challenges that uncover well-kept secrets that have led so many exceptional women to that coveted $1 million mark and beyond. So today, right here, right now, I am live with one of those to have one of those conversations with none other than Casy Price. Hi, Casy. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Her story is set to transform. Her journey is a testament to the incredible potential that awaits inside of each of you. So, without further ado, I want to dive into the heart of Her First Million. And Casy is it with Midnight Sun Bookkeeping. Casey, can you tell me a little bit about you and why you started your bookkeeping business?
Yeah, I've always loved numbers. I remember being a teenager and I would balance my dad's checkbook for him,
What?
like yeah. And I didn't realize it at that time, like what that equaled for my future, right? So I kind of struggled trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do, but I ended up working for a real estate appraiser, and I was going to school, and I was, like a receptionist, secretary, kind of whatever needed to be done. And
Mm-hmm.
one day the bookkeeper was gone, and he was like, "Hey, can you reconcile my account for me?" And I was like, "Sure." So I go in there and quickly found, I'm probably about 20 at this time, and I quickly found that she had been stealing from him, and it was really crazy. So, and I was super nervous because I'd only worked there like a few weeks. And
Yeah.
so I take it to him. I'm like, "Hey, I don't know if you know about all this." And he was like, in shock. And so that kind of started my love for numbers and realizing that the industry needed high integrity individuals. So
Yeah.
I went back 5 years and did accounting for him, like redid everything. And we 1099'd her. She embezzled $250,000 from him
Wow.
over 5 years. And yeah, that's kind of been one of my passions, is trying to make sure owners are involved in their numbers and understand them and ask questions. So
That is really cool. I mean, when I owned my bakery business, I did not understand my financials. I knew enough to know that things weren't right, but I wasn't sure how to change them.
yeah,
So even now, I rely on those bookkeepers, the accountants, to do their jobs. So I'm not a bookkeeper or an accountant. I am just really dangerous. So I can spot the things that are wrong. But what's so important about the financials is that you get to see past actions or
mhm,
past decisions that people have made in their business. I always say, just send me your P&L and I will know what decisions you're making in your
yeah,
business. And what ones we can change moving forward to shift those numbers. So financial management is my wheelhouse, but your wheelhouse is in the bookkeeping side of it. And what you've prepared for us today, which I'm so excited about, are some major financial red flags that business owners often overlook. So can we talk about a little of that?
yeah, I'd love to.
What's the first one?
So kind of a first red flag would be if you're reading your P&L, really diving in on those numbers and making sure it makes sense. Does this income look right? I've seen income overstated to make it look like they're making more money, to hide things, like, oh, we're not operating at a loss because look at all this money we have. So an owner really having their a good grasp of what numbers are coming in and numbers going out, you're looking at all those expenses and making sure they make sense. Why are we spending $5,000 in meals when we've only go out once a month, or just things that make sense. So, and sometimes you need another set of eyes to help you point out some things. So when I take on a new set of books, that's what I want to see. I want to see a P&L and a balance sheet. And between those two things, I can tell you immediately what looks weird, and it might not even be on purpose, right? Like sometimes it's not on purpose. It's just knowledge needing entered in. So,
well, and I can see like, the $1 million, getting up to $1 million in revenue, those founders, business owners can sometimes be a little intimidated by their books. But let me tell you, if you just look at those three basic numbers, the revenue coming in, the cost of goods sold, those expenses going out, and then your overhead expenses, those three numbers, and just get a feel for it. Like I love this first red flag. Like, does it make sense?
Yes. And I would say
every day, you should know.
Yeah. And just always having a second set of eyes too. Like, so, maybe you don't see something that somebody else would, or whatnot. Yeah.
So is number two the second set of eyes?
Yes, that totally is one of them. If your CPA doesn't ask you questions at the end of the year, I would say probably look around. You want whoever is involved with your financial decisions to be asking you questions like, where did you spend money over here? Why is this here? Why isn't this money collected? Why, if you're not getting any questions, or what's this new loan? Like I would say to shop around and get some new information.
That is so important.
Is kind of the last line of defense to catch anything. So, another thing is some of these individuals that I've dealt with, there's a vibe. Like they're nervous. They don't want to go on vacations. They don't want to they don't want to delegate anything. They don't want to give too much information. Like maybe, oh, I'll get that to you tomorrow, or, oh, it's not quite ready, I'll get it to you next week. Or, there's this personality vibe thing that you will notice. And that's my experience, at least, is, something doesn't quite add up. Like, what's going on? Another thing would be if their lifestyle has changed. Maybe they got a brand new car that doesn't make sense. If they're driving around a Porsche with a $60,000 salary, that doesn't make sense. That's another indication of, something might be going on.
Yeah, that second set of eyes is so important. I think that not just even somebody that knows every piece of the business, but someone that is, reputable enough to know, like, this doesn't look like the right thing. The right thing. So when you're seeing embezzlement, do you think that that's happening mostly internal? Like, well, a lot of times, we're outsourcing for a while before we go in-house. So what do we think about that?
Every time I've seen it, it's internal, and it's usually somebody that you thought you trusted. Like they've been here for 10 years, but it's like they get comfortable and maybe like I've seen it where it's just like a little bit at a time. Like I just need $1,000 to pay this medical bill, and then I'm going to pay it back, you know, and then they didn't get caught. And so like it happens, it's usually slowly. And then the amounts get larger and larger and more bold, I guess you could say, thinking they can get away with more. So, yeah, it's definitely
start small.
It's trusted, you know, with maybe you're letting them sign checks, which I would never advise that. Don't let your bookkeeper or accountant sign checks. There has to be a check and balance. Like they print the check, they send the check off for ACH and you're approving it. Or, you know, and maybe your company's big enough where you have a CFO that's signing the checks or something. But yeah.
Yeah, where are the layers to keep people honest? At the $1 million mark, as we get there, the wrong financial habits can stall momentum.
Yes.
So what are some of those strong financial habits, maybe a workflow that we can start to implement in our companies? What do you think about that?
I would say just something so important on a monthly basis would be reviewing your financials and understanding, like if you're struggling one month, like, okay, I need to cut somewhere else, or, you know, and I know in my business and lots of businesses that I've worked with, you know, the first thing to get cut is your own paycheck. Like it hurts me first until I figure things out or find out a way to make more money, or, you know, so I do tell people that, like, okay, what's going to be the first thing cut? You know, where can you cut yourself? But yeah, so just knowing your numbers, and it empowers you to make more decisions. Like, for instance, investing into your personal development is so important for entrepreneurs when they're leading teams and, you know, dealing with clients and customers, and just knowing how to do that well. Knowing you have the money to invest in stuff like that, or get your return back, which I've seen over and over again.
Yeah.
When you invest in yourself.
And from the, you know, the financial habits that we can instill now, like reviewing your numbers on a monthly basis is one. And one of the things that you already talked about was having another layer. So signing checks, if it's not you, that it is someone, another layer. It's not just the internal bookkeepers, that there's another layer for checks, for credit cards, reviewing credit card statements, things like that. We want to keep all of those. We want to keep it in check. It's been a while. I'm working with a nonprofit right now, which it's been a long time since I've been in a nonprofit world. And there's lots of checks and balances with a board, with all kinds of, you know, just making sure that everything is in the right order, if you will. And I'm amazed by it. I like it. The more that I think about it, the more I think, wow, we need to put some of this into our smaller businesses too, as you grow the $1 million plus, right?
Yes. I mean, every zero added is a new process, and that goes for finances too. Like when you're making 100,000, you can't run your finances the same way you will at $1 million. At $1 million, you can't run a $10 million company the same way you're making $1 million. So
through that,
always adapting and having, you know, somebody that can help you navigate that stuff is super important.
So from the bookkeeping side, I have another question. Is it okay if I go into something else?
Yes,
I have been working a lot with exit planning and exit strategy. There's lots of companies going through this right now. But many founders don't think about this until the very last moment. And I mean, financials are such a huge part of having a sellable asset. Can you, from the bookkeeper side, support me, back me up on this. What are some things that from the bookkeeping side that we can start to track so that we're on track for a good valuation when we're ready to sell?
Yes, I love this because it's come up with a bunch of my clients too. You know, when you're in the thick of it, it's really hard to think about 10, 15, 20 years away. But if you build your business with the mindset of selling, like things change. I have a client that when we came on, they were running their business like a nonprofit, like spending all the money down to pay less tax. And I'm like, are you ever going to want to sell? And she's like, yeah, I want to sell some shares. You have to keep some of your profits for your company to be worth anything. So on the equity side, you're building it. You're building all your equity. And if you're constantly in the negative or close to zero, that sell point doesn't navigate well. So building a business with processes, all those things, and making sure it's profitable, because nobody wants to buy a business that doesn't have any profit. So.
Well, we spend a lot of time trying to avoid the Mr. Taxman during our running of businesses. There are other loopholes and things other than running your accounts down to zero, though. So there are tricks that you can also, and add backs is what they call them when you're getting ready to sell. That can include like the owner's salary and things like that can help you minimize the tax burden, but also we do need, like you're saying, the equity and the profitability to be able to make it a sellable asset.
Yes, so important. I'm glad you brought it up.
Awesome. Are there any other nuggets that we should think about in that world, the building of a bit, building to sell from that bookkeeper side?
Just making sure everything's accurate too. Like, I mean, it's easy to, like I mentioned before, you're in the thick of it. You're just, glancing at stuff here and there, like really taking the time. Hey, every first Monday of the month, or, whatever it is, I'm going to take a couple hours, strategize, really dive into deep, ask questions, bring in my CPA to help me plan for the taxes. Like, just really keeping your thumb on the finances are so important, and you'll have success if you do.
Well, and then due diligence, I mean, they're going to get scrutinized. No joke. I mean, I sold my business in 2019. My bakery business, for those that have followed me, they know this, that it was a disaster. I was 2.2 million in annual sales, but no profit, and no profit to my own demise because I was actually living off of credit cards, emptied my 401k. So my business actually wasn't even really making any profit, even though I did have a tax bill at the end. My cash flow was terrible, all kinds of red flags. And I hit all of the mistakes. Even in the sales process, it was quite an experience that I wouldn't wish on anyone else. So I try to make it easier on others. But yeah, from that financial side, just backing you up on that point of your financials need to be clean, and because they will be the last 3 years, 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, something like that. I've heard 7 too. Like, keep your payroll records for 7 years.
Wow. That's awesome. So stepping back then, so we talked about sales, we talked about these the 4 red flags. How can a business owner leverage our bookkeeping data to make high strategic decisions beyond just like looking at expenses?
Yeah. So if you have products that you're selling, your margins on those, like, is shipping going up? Can you buy in bulk? Can you make in bulk? Like, marketing? Are we getting our bang for buck out of marketing? Do we need to try a different strategy? And I do this with some of my clients that want that extra help. Like I've seen so many businesses. I've been doing this for 23 years. So I've seen it all. And sometimes I'm surprised. Like I just had a new client come in and I'm like, okay, I literally haven't seen this problem before. So it's one of those, you're always learning something new.
Always learning something new.
Yeah.
Always.
Solving a
Always.
new problem. So I think it's great when you work with your bookkeepers because they are integrated on a daily, weekly basis versus the CPAs are normally, maybe a couple times a year where they don't have the pulse like a bookkeeper would. So a bookkeeper that has business savviness, if you find one of those, you're golden. So.
Well, and that is so key. So a good bookkeeper isn't just taking and tracking your transactions, they're actually spotting patterns.
Yes.
And they can identify your trends, your expenses, your cash flow, all of that could indicate either opportunities or risks that are coming up. So the bookkeeper,
yes,
though it can be a simple spot to fill in your business, a good one is hard to find.
It is. It's like a mechanic. It's like any other field. There's bad ones. There's really bad ones, but there are really good ones. So just finding who fits for you. And with the online world now where, 20 years ago, you had to pick locally, right? Online opportunities everywhere to find the right fit. So.
Yeah. One of the other things that I would look for too in a bookkeeper is if they know business, like the industry, like industry standards and benchmarks.
Yeah, they're like specializing in certain fields. I know there's like if you have a government forms and like trucking, for instance, right? They have special forms or garbage companies, right? They have like government standards and forms that's got to be filled out, regulatory items, So like another one of my clients, they manufacture liquor. And so there's like all these different liquor stuff, federal and state and local. So it's just finding somebody that either can adapt and learn easily or that knows the industry.
Yeah. So important.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. So thinking back on your entire career, and this might be a really hard question, so apologies, not apologies. What is one thing you would change? Or what would that be? If you could change one thing, what would that be?
For my business?
Or your career, or just knowing from a bookkeeping standpoint?
Let's see. I would probably say hire slow, fire fast.
That's a good one.
Who is on your team will determine your success. So it's kind of one of those things that's like, once you find somebody, you don't want to lose them, right? And then hiring wrong can just turn things around very quickly. So hiring slow, firing fast.
Like that one. Yeah. What essential knowledge should our business owners take away from our talk today that will help them reach their first million in revenue?
So besides knowing your numbers, like we've kind of talked about that, like just being involved. Another thing that I just thought of is being involved, but also communicating with your accounting department, whoever's doing it. Like if you're off financing a new shop or a new car, and all of a sudden payments start coming out. It's like, well, I didn't even know this was happening. Like, can we afford this? Like, it goes both ways, the communication thing.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as making your first million, you can't do it alone. Like, get support, have your team, and it depends on what kind of business you're in, of course, but nobody rises alone. So I've definitely one of my other tips.
That is so good. And the last question that I ask every guest is, do you have any valuable resources, books, or workshops that can help folks or that have helped you?
Honestly, the latest book that I've read that I have loved that changed my business personally is Buy Back Your Time. So it changed my whole world.
That is so cool. That's Dan Martell, people. That's how Casey and I know each other. We are a part of the elite program. It's pretty secret. So now that you know about it, you should maybe go over to Dan Martell and tell him that you heard from Amanda and Casey that they're elites and you want to be one too.
Yeah.
It is super cool to spend some time with you, Casey, just knowing a little bit more about how you help people. So thank you so much for your time. Any last words of wisdom for our audience before I cut us out?
Man, just go kill it. Go after it.
Go get it. No excuses. That is what Casey is telling you. You do have no excuses for making your first million and beyond. Casey, thank you so much for your story. And viewers, I'll have the link to that book, the Dan Martell book, for you here later this afternoon. And if you're a business owner that's making $500K or more and wondering where your profits are they disappearing? Your chance to fix this is in my free profit strategy call. It's not just another consultation. It's a deep dive into your business to uncover hidden profits you didn't even know existed. In just one call, you walk away with a clear snapshot of your financial leaks, 3 actionable strategies to boost your cash flow immediately, and a personalized profit roadmap that you can start using today. The best part? There's 0 obligations. I don't do a sales pitch in that. It's just pure, valuable insights tailored to your specific business. And you can get that on unlockyourprofits.co/free call. Your profits are waiting, so come over and do that. And thanks for tuning in. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks so much.